The second tournament happening this upcoming week is in Delray Beach, where Taylor Fritz will try to defend his title from last year. Kecmanovic will try to go one step further than he did last year, and some other big players are playing. And in this video, I will be taking a look at my predictions for who will go to the very end of the tournament. I will go through every single match, what I think will happen, and in the end tell you who I think will win the title in Delray Beach this year. I have already done a video on ATP Rotterdam, who I think will win the title there. If you're interested in this, please go watch that video as well. But for now, let's just get into the thick of things. So, looking at the first side of the draw, we've got Taylor Fritz getting a bye in the first round. He will then face either Dominic Kopfer or Nuno Borges. And I think this match could swing either way. Both players have been fairly decent this year. Borges has maybe been just a bit better because of his run at the Australian Open, beating Grigor Dimitrov, and I am leaning Borges in this match. I think Borges will win in 3 sets, but definitely not a match that Kopfer has to be embarrassed about. The next matchup is also one that I feel can swing both ways. It's Hijikata against Liam Broady. Both players are fine. None of them are particularly impressive, to me at least. I think Hijikata just has the slight edge, and I think he will win in 3 sets. Hijikata will then face either Nishioka or Matteo Arnaldi, and I think it will be Arnaldi. I think Arnaldi is young and fresh and has a lot of weapons. He can maybe hit a few too many unforced errors at times, but I think he will have enough to beat Nishioka in straight sets. We then have Mannarino getting a bye in the first round and then facing either Marcos Giron or Emilio Nava. Now, Marcos Giron has surprised me so much this week. He's in the final of Dallas. As of recording right now, that final has not been played, but he's just beaten Mannarino. He's also beaten Francis Tiafoe in the quarterfinals. He's been very impressive. And what might tend to happen sometimes is that the player that's done very well the week before then loses the first round in the next week. I don't think that will be the case this time. I think Emilio Nava has talent. I do believe that he will get better as the years progress. As of right now, I don't think he has what it takes to beat Marcos Giron, and I think Giron will win in straight sets to face Mannarino in a rematch of that semi-final from Dallas. And down the bottom of this half of the draw, we've got Lestienne facing Vukic in the first round. Once again, just like with Hijikata and Broady, none of these players really do all that much for me. There was a bit of a stretch last year where Vukic played pretty well. I don't think he's been all that impressive as of late. Neither has Constant Lestienne. I think Vukic will win in 3 sets, but it won't be a particularly beautiful or well-played match. And Vukic will then face either Kipson or Miomir Kecmanovic. Kecmanovic obviously went to the final here last year, losing in 3 sets to Taylor Fritz. And I believe Kecmanovic will breeze through this first round. I think he'll beat Kipson. This is his first appearance in a tournament since the Australian Open, where he was mightily impressive in my opinion. And I think he will continue that and beat Kipson in straight sets. Now, instead of jumping to the other side of the draw now, I will stick to this side, follow it to the final, then go to the other side, follow that to the final, and give my final prediction at the very end. But the round of 16 on this side of the draw, first matchup is Taylor Fritz against Nuno Borges. As mentioned, Borges was very impressive at the Australian Open. I don't think he will beat Fritz. I think Fritz was even more impressive, and I don't even think he was bad in that match against Djokovic. I just think Djokovic stepped up his level in the 3rd and 4th set. I actually think Fritz was playing very, very well, and might have even deserved to win the first 2 sets. I think Fritz will beat Borges in straight sets in this tournament, where he will either face Hijikata or Matteo Arnaldi. And as I mentioned before, I don't think Hijikata has all that many weapons, whereas Matteo Arnaldi has this speed and energy, and I do think he will beat Hijikata in straight sets as well. And then we have got the rematch of the Dallas semifinal, Mannarino against Marcos Giron. And this time around, last week, I know I don't have a predictions video out, but last week for myself, when I did my predictions, I said Manarino would actually win the title in Dallas. He obviously didn't. Giron stopped him. This time around, I do believe Manarino will win. I think he'll have learned his lesson, and I think he will have an idea of how to beat Giron once he faces him on the court. And down at the bottom of the round of 16, we have got Alexander Vukic against Miomir Kecmanovic. This match, I think, could be very, very close. I think Vukic might have what it takes on his day to beat Kecmanovic. Kecmanovic definitely has what it takes to beat Vukic. This time around, I think Kecmanovic will beat Vukic in 3 sets. And that will set up 2 quarterfinals on this side of the draw. That is Fritz against Arnaldi and Manarino against Kecmanovic. Now, the first of those is Fritz Arnaldi, and I think once again, Fritz will have what it takes. He will have the weapons in his arsenal to beat Arnaldi, and I think he will win in straight sets to then face. And this is where the surprise is coming. I think Kecmanovic will beat Manarino. Manarino has been so impressive for months. And I don't think he'll play a bad match per se. I just think Kecmanovic will step up his level a bit and win in 3 sets. In general, I feel like this tournament in Delray Beach is quite difficult to predict. That in general, the 250 tournaments are pretty tough to predict because anything can happen, especially in these small tournaments. I think usually with the Masters 1000s and the Grand Slams, the big players tend to step up. Whereas with these 250 events, sometimes the big players cannot really care. And I think that offers the chance for a lot of upsets. And I think Kecmanovic will beat Manarino, which will then set up in the semi-final a replay of last year's final, which I think will end the exact same way as that final last year here in Delray Beach. I think Taylor Fritz will win in 3 sets against Kecmanovic to go to the final once again. Now, before looking at who I think Taylor Fritz will face in that final, we are jumping to the other side of the draw, where the first matchup is Dan Evans against Jordan Thompson. Evans hasn't really played all that much this year, whereas Jordan Thompson has been very impressive and beaten Rafael Nadal in Brisbane and just in general playing great tennis. This is a match I can see swing either way because Dan Evans can play very, very well in basically any time. He can just show up for 1 week and play lights out tennis. If he beats Jordan Thompson in the first round, I think this could be a very, very good week for Dan Evans. This prediction could crash and burn, but I think that Dan Evans will win in 3 sets against Jordan Thompson. And then he will face either Kovacevic or a qualifier. The qualifying for Delray Beach isn't done yet. I will update this video probably in short format once I see what the eventual qualifying players are and who they will face. Maybe I'll change my prediction. But as of right now, I have Kovacevic to win in straight sets against the qualifier, to then face Dan Evans in the second round. We've also got Mickelson against a qualifier, and once again, this might change based on the qualifier he faces, but I think Mickelson will win in straight sets to then face Tommy Paul in the second round, who gets a bye in the first round. This is really the side of the draw where all the qualifiers are placed, because Max Purcell is also facing a qualifier. And you might think I just hate qualifiers. Again, I might change my predictions. As of right now, I do think Max Purcell will win in straight sets against the qualifier that he's facing. And he will then face either James Duckworth or Taro Daniel. And I would have said that Duckworth would win, but he did just withdraw from his match in Dallas against Manarino because of an injury of some sort. I didn't watch the match. I just read that he had to go because of an injury. So I don't know what the status is with Duckworth, if he's really fit to play or if he's ready to play. I'm guessing if he does play, of course, he thinks he's ready. But because of his physical issues, I am going for Taro Daniel to win in straight sets. We have then got a qualifier against Jun Chung Shang. And Jun Chung Shang has played fairly well this year. beaten Tiafoe in Hong Kong and playing pretty well at the Australian Open until he had to withdraw against Carlos Alcaraz. That match against Carlos Alcaraz, though, was very unimpressive, in my opinion. And I think a player like Junjin Shang, at the age he's at, will struggle at times, and I think this might be a tournament to forget for him. I think he will lose in 3 sets in the first round to a qualifier. And that qualifier will then face Frances Tiafoe, who gets a bye in the first round. So, heading on to the second round, the round of 16, the first matchup on this side of the draw is Dan Evans against Kovacevic. And as said, if Dan Evans beats Thompson in the first round, I think this could be a very good week for him, and I think he will beat Kovacevic in the second round. We then have Alex Michelsen against Tommy Paul in the second round, and I actually thought Michelsen would pull off an upset and beat Frances Tiafoe in Dallas. He didn't do that, so now I'm sort of on the fence of how much to really expect from Michelsen. He is still young, but I do think Tommy Paul is a more complete player than Frances Tiafoe, and therefore will find it even easier to beat Michelsen, and I think he will win in 2 sets. We have then got Max Purcell against Taro Daniel, and this is a match that I can see swing either way. As mentioned, these 250 events are pretty tough to predict. I think this time around Taro Daniel will have what it takes to beat Max Purcell, and I think he will win in 3 sets. He will then face either a qualifier that beats Xiong or Frances Tiafoe. And while I do think Frances Tiafoe has been very disappointing for a long time now and lost a lot of unexpected matches, I think he will have what it takes to beat this qualifier, and I think he will win in straight sets. So that sets up 2 quarterfinals on this side of the draw. That is Dan Evans against Tommy Paul and Taro Daniel against Frances Tiafoe. I've said it before, this week might just offer up quite a lot of surprises, and I've gone for 2. I think Dan Evans will win in 3 sets against Tommy Paul, and I think Taro Daniel will win in straight sets against Frances Tiafoe. I think with Evans and Paul, there's something about Evans. I think back a lot to the tournament in Washington where he was just absolutely outrageously good. And I think he might have another week, maybe not as good, but almost as good. I think he can play some amazing tennis, and I just feel like he will pull off an upset against Tommy Paul. Tommy Paul is also in the Dallas final that hasn't been played as of recording, so he might win that and then be a bit fatigued, might not be able to go the distance here in Delray Beach. I think Dan Evans will win in 3. And with Taro Daniel and Frances Tiafoe, my issue is the fact that Tiafoe has just been losing so many easy matches. Of course, no match is easy, but for someone with Frances Tiafoe's ability and his aspirations, he needs to be winning the matches he is losing. I think this will be another one, just like when he lost to Junjin Shang in Hong Kong. He will, I think, lose to Taro Daniel in Delray Beach. Which then sets up a semi-final of Dan Evans against Taro Daniel. Daniel has obviously already been in a final this year in Auckland. I don't think he'll make the final here in Delray Beach. I think Dan Evans will win in straight sets to try to do to Taylor Fritz what Kecmanovic couldn't do last year. Will he then do it? Yes, I think he will. I don't think Taylor Fritz will re-win his title or regain his title here in Delray Beach. I think Dan Evans will have a magical week. I've said it way too many times now during this video. I think he will have a great week, beat Taylor Fritz in 3 sets in the final to lift the title in Delray Beach. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have liked it, please click the like button. Consider subscribing to the channel. This is what I want to do with this channel. I want to predict all the tournaments on the ATP Tour. If you think that might be exciting, please consider joining the community. Write a comment down below. Tell me who you think will win the title in Delray Beach. Will it be Taylor Fritz? Will it be Tommy Paul? Will it be someone else? Let me know down below. And thank you so much for watching this video. Have a very nice day.